Welcome to Rider Nation Station, presented by American Manufacturing Solutions, your total logistics partner, investing in Rider Nation Station and St. Mary's, Ohio, and to our other fine sponsors.
Hello and welcome to this week's edition of Rules of the Game with Mark Cisco. I'm your host, Zach Ferrall. Joining me again in each and every week, Mark Cisco. Thanks for being here, Mark.
Zach, it's always a pleasure to be here.
Mark, as an official in Ohio and football around the state, it's nice to have you here every week to be able to get your perspective on the clips that we see from the game and just some of the issues that come up and as we're commentating or as the fans are watching it at home.
Well, hopefully, the fans will pick up a little bit of knowledge and a little bit of appreciation for the players and for the officials that are on the field and some of the things that we all go through on Friday nights.
I think it's nice that they learn that things are not as easy as it looks like sometimes from a fan's perspective. When they hear your point of view, they know that they got to give the official the benefit of the doubt sometimes.
Sometimes, yeah, and sometimes they're right, even sitting 40 yards away up in the stands.
Right.
So it goes both ways.
But officials are humans, and humans make mistakes.
Absolutely.
And we always got to keep that in mind. Wanted to talk, first of all, we don't have a clip of it today, but it was an issue that came up as we were commentating, and I thought about it on the field. Late in the game against Van Wert and St. Mary's, Van Wert had a false start penalty.
Okay.
And so they were trying to kill the clock.
Sure.
They had ran the ball. They were letting the clock go, and a player false started. They were allowed to again run the clock off another 25 seconds.
Correct.
Or whatever the play clock would have been at that time. I remember thinking as a commentator, wow, they could just do that false start again and run another 30 seconds or another. How is there a rule on that? How does that work?
One would think so. So what we're told from the OSHA office is to be cognizant of the clock in these types of situations with under 4 minutes to play in the game, especially in a close game. Now, in a blowout game, nobody's going to say a word. Everybody just wants to get out of there. But in a close game like that, it's possible for the team that's leading, that has the ball and the clock is running, to a false start or line up offside or do something that will get them in another 25 seconds. So if a team is smart, they may give that a shot. So as officials, we have to be cognizant of that, and we have the power, the referee has the power to not start the game clock, to make them snap the football, to take that out of the realm of possibility. Now, in this game, maybe the officials recognized what was happening, maybe they didn't, and then sometimes maybe it's a legitimate false start, and it's so we play that game trying to figure out, is it on purpose or is it not? But at that point in the ball game, the officials should have said, wait a minute, maybe we should keep the game clock stopped here so there's because in theory, if Van Wert would have run the play without the false start, then they wouldn't have another 25 seconds.
So it is up to the official to make kind of a gamesmanship.
At that point. Now, if we get under 2 minutes in the half, either half, then it's possible for the offended team to ask the referee, hey, we want to make sure that the play clock stays stopped so they don't run off any more time.
Sure.
And coaches are aware of that rule, and officials are aware of that rule, and I know on our crew, if that happens, we'll normally not start the play clock in a close situation, just with the nod of the head to the coach, and our wing guys saying, yeah, he doesn't want it started, so we take care of that.
Okay.
So this was outside the 2 minute warning, if you will.
Right.
But it should have been considered. And maybe it was,
yeah.
And they just went ahead and rolled it anyway, but maybe it wasn't.
So fans should be cognizant of that when they're watching a
Sure,
game.
absolutely. Absolutely.
If they start complaining about the clock not running, it may be because the official has made a determination
that,
we're not going to run it.
We're not going to run it, and
right.
The other team, Van Wert, would have been like, hey, start the clock. Well, that's where you have to show some fortitude as an official and go, no, we're not, because this is what we think's happening, and away we go.
You talked about OSHA, that's the Ohio High School Athletic Association.
Correct.
So I discovered this week that the OSHA gives you guys bulletins each week.
Each week.
So each week, some of these similar issues to what we're talking about are brought up in a bulletin, and they give you information, and they say this is how you guys need to think about it. So is that when people say that they're talking about emphasizing these issues?
Well,
each week,
not necessarily, because each week there's something different.
Okay.
And sometimes the bulletins in there will repeat different things just to cement things in our minds. But we get those bulletins, and this past week there was a situation calling about the play clock and the back judge raising his hand when there's 5 seconds to go. That's something that should happen without thought. And it doesn't, and it's surprising to me as a longtime official that some of that's the basic things in officiating aren't happening. Now, I'm sure I'll hear about what I just said.
We've got some clips for that during the
Van some of the things
game.
just should be automatic, and like rules knowledge, there shouldn't be a question.
Sure.
But there continues to be issues, which in every facet of life, you're going to have that.
Well, we're going to have some of those clips actually addressing that exact issue here from the Van Wert game.
I thought maybe you might.
Yeah, there was a delay of game called and a raised hand. So we're going to get to that when we come back on the other side of this break. So we're going to send it to our sponsors, and we'll be back right after this.
St. Mary's Foundry wants to take this opportunity to give a big shout out to all our local teams, wishing them a safe and extraordinary season. And speaking of great teams, St. Mary's Foundry would like to thank its very own team of hardworking employees for their loyalty and dedication. If you're looking for rewarding challenges and first-string wages and benefits, check us out at stmfoundry.com or on hometownopportunities.com. St. Mary's Foundry, where iron and ingenuity meet. Vogel's Bake Shop, making thousands of fresh donuts daily, open 7 days a week with stores in St. Mary's, Salina, and Walpock. Also now found in Wagner's IGA in New Bremen, Minster, and Fort Laramie. Guarneri's Pizzeria and Pub has partnered with Rider Nation Station this season so that every Friday night, Guarneri's can be Rough Rider Football Central. Guarneri's will be streaming Rough Rider football live every Friday night at 7, paired with your favorite Rider aid. Make sure to call and make your reservations now to ensure yourself a good seat. Call Guarneri's at 419-394-2244 and make your reservation today. And go Riders!
Miller Funeral Home has been serving the Rough Rider community in its time of need since the 70s. Our business is a family affair, dedicated to serving families with integrity, dignity, and compassion. Miller Funeral Home, proud to be a supporter of the Rough Rider community.
Welcome back to Rules of the Game with Mark Cisco. I'm your host, Zach Ferrall again. Mark, I wanted to jump right in here. You had a perfect segue to our first clip here. This is a false start on St. Mary's called I'm sorry. This is not the delay of game. Sorry. This is a false start on St. Mary's. So
Right.
Just thought we'd jump in here with an easy one.
Yeah, that is an easy one. That's a no doubt situation there. It's clear that the halfback missed the snap count, and it was a dead giveaway.
I thought this was interesting because last week we had the St. Mary's running back start to maybe go into a motion sideways, but here he's clearly stepping forward.
Clearly stepping forward, and then he stops.
Okay.
And he just has that look like, oh, darn it, Yep.
Yeah. And he ends up getting the ball, so you knew he was not supposed to be in motion.
He was trying to get a start on things. Yep.
Gotcha. Well, I thought that was interesting to be able to show just from something that we had last week. Okay, so here is the delay of game on St. Mary's, Mark. This was
third quarter, right?
Third quarter, very important time. 4th and 1. St. Mary's was driving to tie it up, and if we can. We've got two different angles here, but you can see that the back judge holds his hand up and starts waving it.
And starts counting down from 5 seconds, yes. And that's what he's supposed to do. Now we're counting, and then clearly he gets to 40 seconds expired before the ball is snapped. Now they'll tell us if you get to 0, and especially if there's a play clock in the stadium, that you can look at, and you see the play clock go to 0, and you look down, and the ball's not moving yet.
Right.
You got a foul.
And in this case, Van Wert did not have a play clock in their stadium.
Correct.
So it puts everybody at a disadvantage. You don't have the clock to look at. So what the coaches and the players have to look at is that back judge then.
Correct. That's true. The quarterback has his eyes on him, and he should have been cognizant of what's going on. It seemed in that play that the Riders took a very long time trying to decide, where people supposed to be at and what we're going to run. And he's counting, and he's clearly got the flag and the whistle before the ball snapped.
Okay. And so when he raises his hand, it's basically a 5-second countdown after that.
And he's going to count down. He's got a timer on that he wears that will give him. He's got his left hand on it, so he can tell when it starts, and then when it's done, it's done. Now,
And that's the way it used to be. You didn't have play clocks.
Correct.
On
You
all
didn't
the
have play
fields.
clocks, but we weren't dealing with 40 seconds. We were dealing with 25, and that 25 started when the referee blew his whistle. So there was kind of a starting point that everybody in the stadium knew. Now you just it just resets, and there's no whistles, no anything. It just goes.
That's interesting. I didn't think about that. We haven't seen the whistles anymore, knowing when that starts.
Pretty much not with the 40-second play clock, right?
Okay, so Mark, this next play that we had here, we have a couple different angles of it, is a Van Wert player that hurled over somebody. And I was standing up in the scissor lift behind the St. Mary's fans, and I had a bunch of them turn around and say, "Oh, he's not allowed to hurdle," because they got it called on them a couple weeks ago.
Right.
I know from talking to you that the player that he hurdled over was laying on the ground on his all fours.
Yep.
And on his back.
And he jumped over his own player.
And
he was down on the ground, so that's perfectly legal.
So if his own player would be just on 2 feet, are you allowed to jump over your own player, or is it just hurdling the defensive player?
That's a very good question. The rule is not clear on that. So you know what? Crucially, I'm going to have to check that. I don't have an answer for you next week, but common sense dictates you're not going to flag a kid for jumping over his own kid.
Okay. Yeah.
Especially normally they're on the ground and he's just trying to clear him. So
yeah.
I will have an answer for you on that.
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah.
Would I have flagged that? No, I would not have.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if that answers your question.
Well, I just wanted to answer it for everybody at home that might have had that same thought.
They'll have to tune in next week then.
Yeah, it's only hurdling when it's when the guy's standing on 2 feet.
Correct.
And we'll have to tune in next week to see whether it's just the defensive player or it also includes the offensive player.
That's a good question.
Mark, this next clip was a block in the back on Van Wert. This was on the kick return. Looked fairly obvious to me, although it's a little bit hard to see from this angle, but you can really see it thrown right there against the St. Mary's
the referee
tackler.
gets that.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's where he's supposed to be looking. Let's see if we can if it's a little clear on this shot.
We just had so many block in the backs last week that I thought, let's show another example of it.
Right.
This one's on a kick return.
Right there.
Yep.
Can we see that one again? I'd like to see that one again if that's possible. All right, from there's good.
It's a very quick one here. It's 50. I think it's 52 comes through.
Right number on 9. Correct.
Yep.
Probably a good. He's got him right there.
Yeah.
Yep. He's already and there's somebody. Yep. Good call.
Yeah, and I really think it's the extension of the arms probably that
dead giveaway right there.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's just so obvious that and it's right in front of the play, so it had to be called there.
The referee had that. That's a good call.
Yeah. Well, we had, like I said, we had so many last week that so many questionable ones last week that I thought maybe it's a good idea to show an exact one. So we're going to take a quick break here, Mark. When we come back, we're going to have, unfortunately, some of the most controversial plays during the game.
All right, here we go.
This was a pass interference called on St. Mary's and then a non-call of a pass interference against Van Wert on the St. Mary's receiver. So when we be back, we're going to get to these important calls right after this.
American Manufacturing Solutions is proud to invest in St. Mary's and proud to sponsor Rough Rider football. Think AMS, think logistics, done right. AMS is your complete supply chain solutions provider. Have electrical service needs? AMS can take care of that too. Call us at 419-300-1007 or visit us at AmericanMFGSolutions.com.
Whether your goals include college education funding, retirement planning, generating income, or reducing taxes, at Glass Derringer Investment Management, we've got you covered. Stop in and speak with Jeff Derringer or Kevin Glass at 100 West Spring Street today. Glass Derringer Investment Management. Securities offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA, SIPC.
For all your sporting good needs, visit Albert Sporting Goods at 121 West Spring Street, serving the St. Mary's community since 1980.
Auglaize Equipment Rental is your source for all your equipment needs. Whether you're a contractor or a homeowner with a project, we can help get the job done more efficiently. Check us out at 1900 Salina Road or AuglaizeEquipmentRental.com or just call 419-394-7883. Auglaize Equipment Rental.
Welcome back to Rules of the Game. We want to thank all of our sponsors out there and remind anybody that hasn't already to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Like us on Facebook so you can get all of the notifications. Every Rules of the Game is going to premiere every Friday night at 6 p.m. before the football game. We'll get on the air about 6:57. for the game with Joe and myself in the press box, hopefully, most of the games, sometimes on a scissor lift, who knows. So thank you again for tuning in, and thanks to all of our sponsors for making it possible. Up next, Mark, we have an encroachment call on St. Mary's. A little bit hard to see from this side, but the players jumped, the linebackers jumped in.
Yep.
And I guess I was wondering what it seems like we have to relearn this every year, but does the offensive player have to move when the defensive player is in that zone?
No, I mean the offense is, and even if the offense reacts to it, normally the defense has already entered the neutral zone, which is the area, it's the width of the football. So what happens after that initial movement into the neutral zone really doesn't matter. It's not like the college rule or anything along those lines. So probably what happened here is the quarterback for Van Wert changed the count a little bit, or his voice, and it was just enough to draw the defenders over.
Yeah, it looks like the defensive tackle probably jumps a little bit there.
Yeah, and as you well know from playing, they're taught to watch the football,
right,
and not tune into but it's hard not to tune into the quarterback, especially when you get the same snap count over and over and over, and then all of a sudden you change your voice a little bit. Oops. And that's and he did it on a good spot because it's third and maybe 5. It's probably enough for a first down, and that's when that kind of thing happens.
So if the defender crosses over, crosses over the ball?
The ball.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then it's automatically encroachment.
Pretty much there. He's in the neutral zone before anybody else is moving.
Okay.
You've got encroachment on the defense 5 yards, and in this case, it's probably going to be a first down.
If it doesn't cross the ball and it's part of the neutral zone, he can pull back as long as the offense
as long as he doesn't put his head in the neutral zone, which is the width of the football.
Okay.
So you'll see kids once in a while kind of jump and move a little bit, but those kids are normally lined up far enough back away from the football that little movement forward does not put them in the neutral zone.
Okay.
These kids are probably lined up right on the football, and he took a good step, so
right.
It was no doubter from the officials.
Gotcha. Okay. All right, so we're here to the last 2 controversial calls of the game. This first one here was a pass interference called on St. Mary's. It's going to be at the very bottom of your screen here. We're looking at Braden Himmelgarn, who had a great game coming back after being gone 2 games, by the way. It's very hard to see from both of these angles. We don't have great view here.
Well, let's just see if we can make something out.
So from the end zone view, it's going to be on the left side of our screen here.
Boy, it's hard to tell from this angle whether or not he made – both of them are running down. They have outstretched arms. They're feeling, making space for one another, which is fine at that point. And so we don't know whether or not there was actually contact made on the receiver before the ball got there. Yes, does it look bad? It certainly does. It looks like he's bringing the arm over, but did he actually have contact at the time the ball reached where the receiver would be? That's a tough one.
The back judge makes the call from the middle of the field. I noticed that the wing – I don't know if that's the wing judge.
That would have been the line judge on that side,
judge. Okay.
And he's trailing, so he probably has no idea the separation between the 2 players. The back judge truthfully has the best look, and maybe the St. Mary's defender had the left arm on the back of the Van Wert receiver.
And looking down here at the sideline view again.
But is it enough? That's touchy.
Yeah.
That's really touchy right there. I can't comment whether it's good call, not call, or not. There's just not enough there for us to make a determination. But,
I
know
a lot of St. Mary's fans thought it was a little too. I mean, which they're going to.
Well, sure.
But
the thing of it is, what should have happened is maybe the line judge should have went to the back judge and said, because we're told when we have one flag on a play like that to get together and discuss it a bit.
Right.
And if you want to stay with it, great. If you don't, then fine. We'll pick it up and away we go.
Make it a crew call.
That didn't happen here.
Yeah.
So, good call or not, tough to tell.
We're going to look here at then the end of the game, last drive. St. Mary's is going down. If they score and kick an extra point, they're going to win the game. Here, right down the center of the field, we have a no call on the pass interference.
Yeah, the receiver certainly thinks he was interfered with.
I think that was Braden Himmelgarn again on that side of the ball. Maybe 21 covering him for Van Wert, I think Drew Johnson.
Yeah, if we could, just run it from there is fine, and we'll see if we can't. It looks like there's contact right there. It certainly looks like contact was early.
Yeah.
And the other thing is we have the defenders that are not playing the balls. So there's an indication there that it could be pass interference. You got 2 things. We have early contact, and we have the defenders not really having any idea where the football is. That's again, I wasn't on the field, not
Yeah.
looking at it.
Yeah.
So there we go.
Yeah, it's a little tough. It's easy for us to look at that here afterwards. But you talked about the incidental contact with the feet. You at least want the defender probably looking at the ball. Or?
Pretty much. They tell us, look, if you're running side by side or you're running down, clearly the St. Mary's receiver had the defenders beat.
Yeah.
So in that case, you're going to give him a little bit of the benefit of the doubt, especially when the defenders aren't going to look back for the football.
Right.
They took away face guarding, so you can stick the hand in their face as long as no contact is made, fine. But it looks like to me from this clip that the defenders are not looking for the football. That would be an indication that maybe we're going to have DPI here.
Well, unfortunately, we can't go back and redo things like that, but we can always look at them. So, wanted to thank you again for coming in
Always
this
a pleasure.
week. We'll be back next week with some clips from hopefully a successful St. Mary's Shawnee game, and we'll be back. And hope everybody joins us next week. Thanks,
Zach.
Thanks for watching another episode of Rider Nation Station. Help us help you by subscribing on YouTube or following us on Facebook.